me. My name is Shazia Marri, and I am the Minister for Poverty Alleviation and Social Safety. I am a member of the National Assembly of Pakistan. I've been a member of legislative assemblies since 2002. I started from the Provincial Assembly of Pakistan, of Sindh, and then I graduated to the capital, for which I had to also sacrifice at a personal level when one leaves family behind. So I sometimes feel torn between cities when it comes to wearing different hats that I wear, and I'm a proud mother of 2 children. So here I am today talking about social protection, which is the core of everything. And I would also like to thank the developing partners who are present here today, GIZ, World Bank, distinguished audience, very honorable people, my colleague from the National Assembly sitting right before me, the learned panel that I'm sitting with. I'm really honored to be here today. And I'm actually looking forward to learning more, because I'm already handling a very challenging portfolio. And as the representative from German Embassy, Dr. Sebastian, rightly pointed out, that the crux of everything, and also Abid Sahab said that the crux of everything is the social protection of people, and it is the social protection that actually has to play a very important role here. The kind of shocks that the society goes through, and in our case, may it be the pandemic, health, climate, economic, caused due to different things happening around us in the world. Ultimately, it is the population of any society that gets affected, and ours has been affected by these events that have taken place, one after another. So we are actually quite stressed in terms of these shocks that we've received lately. So at the ministry, we have different initiatives to help the vulnerable communities, one of which is Benazir Income Support Program, and I'm also a chairperson. I'm chairperson of Benazir Income Support Program, which is a social vehicle that was established back in 2008, and it was enacted upon in 2010. I do take pride in the fact that the political party that I hail from is the architect of this vehicle for social protection. But what I also feel very glad about sharing is the fact that every political entity has owned this program. So that is the beauty of this social protection program. So it does not have a label of a political party anymore, but it is named after a very, I'd say a very resilient political personality, none other than Shahid Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto Sahiba herself. So she not only envisioned this program, but the idea behind this came to her at a time when the country was going through economic crisis. There were challenges that young people in this country were facing when she returned after an exile of 8 years. And she wanted to help the people, and she had a plan. She wanted to provide some mechanism to support the low-income households, to support their incomes. And that was the idea behind it. But unfortunately, she did not live long to see this realize into real terms. The government of her party did announce it, but also, unfortunately, at a time when this was announced, there was a global crisis in the world, and the global crisis was affecting Pakistan very badly. So this program was the need at a time it was initiated, but coincidentally, it has now become the need for the population in Pakistan. At BISP, we have a database, which is the National Socio-Economic Registry. And this Benazir NSCR, as we call it, has a data of around 38 million families, which comes to around 34 million households. And this unique data is something that we really take pride in, because it has taken years of hard work to collect this kind of data. And now we are moving towards the dynamic registry. I've been asked to speak in my national language, so I am with pride going to use my going to switch to my national language. So हमने ये जो जब इसका आगाज़ किया था तो उस वक्त यकीनन I'm sorry if there's anything but I've said the important part is already covered. I'm now going to go and explaining a little that I wanted to. So ये जो प्रोग्राम था इसका जब आगाज़ हुआ तो यकीनन कोई डेटाबेस हमारे पास नहीं था, और उसका बेस्ट तरीका ये था कि आप फौरी तौर पर इंगेज करें सोसाइटी के उन लोगों को जिनके पास रसाई है उन गरीब लोगों तक जो वल्नरेबल लोग हैं जिनको मदद की ज़रूरत है। तो उस वक्त जो पॉलिटिकल रियलिटीज़ थी उनको ऑन बोर्ड लिया गया, कता नज़र इसके कि किसका ताल्लुक किस जमात से, हु बिलोंग टू व्हाट पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वाज नॉट द कंसर्न ऑफ द देन गवर्नमेंट, एंड होल हार्टेडली एक सोशल प्रोटेक्शन के व्हीकल को स्टार्ट करने के लिए इस कॉन्सेप्ट को जो है वो मुतारफ़ कराया गया। और उसके बाद वक्तन फ़वक्तन जो हालात भी तब्दील हुए, कुछ टेक्नोलॉजी जो है वो भी जो है हमें ज़्यादा समझ आने लगी कि किस तरीक़े से इसको बेहतर बनाया जा सकता है और इफ़ेक्टिव बनाया जा सकता है। तो डेटाबेस कलेक्शन को बाकायदा से सरअंजाम दिया गया, और ये 14 बरस की मेहनत है जिसके नतीजे में ये डेटाबेस हमने बनाया है। लेकिन इसके अंदर जो स्टैटिक डेटाबेस कलेक्शन का तरीका है वो हमें अलाउ नहीं करता कि हम जो सोशो इकोनॉमिक चेंजेस हैं माशरे के अंदर, सोसाइटी के अंदर, वल्नरेबल कम्युनिटी के बिलखसूस, वो हम रिकॉर्ड कर सकें। क्योंकि आज एक शख्स जो है वो वल्नरेबल नहीं है, लेकिन जो शॉक्स आते हैं जिसमें क्लाइमेट शॉक हो गया, जिसमें पेंडेमिक का शॉक हो गया, जिसमें और कोई इकोनॉमिक शॉक हो गया, उसके नतीजे में जो मौशी समाजी हालात हैं लोगों के वो बदलते हैं, और जब वो हालात बदलते हैं तो यकीनन उनके उस स्टेटस में चेंज आता है। तो इस तरह के चेंज को रिकॉर्ड करने का जो तरीका था वो स्टैटिक रजिस्ट्री में हमारे पास मौजूद नहीं था, विच इज़ वाई वी हैड टू मूव टूवर्ड्स डायनामिक रजिस्ट्री। और चूँकि अब हम इस तरीके की गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं, मैं भी समझती हूँ कि ऐसे बात करना ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग होता है, तो मैं आपके साथ कुछ नंबर्स शेयर करना चाहूँगी मिसाल देते हुए। लेकिन एक तो ये बात ज़रूर करूँगी कि जो प्री शॉक स्ट्रैटेजी है उसमें हमारे पास we have a data. So before the shock, even before the shock sort of started hitting the population, we already had a database with us. So that database helps us recognize the people that we want to reach to. Plus we have a delivery system, and that delivery system is the cash transfer mechanism that we have. But now, and that is the Benazir Income Support Program that has such platforms, the delivery platform. Now, since we had the database and we had the mechanism to help people, that was the platform. So we were able to be useful in a shock like the floods or COVID-19, for instance. So the most recent are the unprecedented floods that affected 33 million population of Pakistan, and a population or a country that is 8th most stressed country in terms of climate change in the world. So at this point in time, how does the government not only make an announcement but ensures that it is implemented? That is where the Benazir Income Support Program vehicle comes into use. So because we had the database, we had a delivery platform, we were able to use the resources that were allocated to us by the government of Pakistan. And here, for instance, when we used it, we were able to, the government had allocated an amount of rupees 70 billion, and that comes to a little over $300 million. So when we went out, we knew that this is the allocation given to us. This is the database that we have divided it into 5 quintiles. Now we need to pick the most vulnerable, the ones in the affected areas, affected by the floods. So we picked up those people. They were identified through the database, and the money was then dispersed through our mechanism. Now here the target obviously is much bigger, but like you talked about the essentials. So one of the essential is the money, and the most essential is the money. So we have the structure, we have the way to reach out to people, but we need the resources. तो जो हमारे पास रकूम थे वो हमने डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किए और वी वर एबल टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूट तकरीबन हमने 2.69 मिलियन से ज़ायद फैमिलीज़ को हमने ये रकम तकसीम की, जो कि अगर आप डॉलर्स में देखते हैं तो इट कम्स टू अराउंड $113 पर फैमिली, तो 25,000 रुपए की जो रकम है। तो ये एक बड़ी खातिर खा रकम है जो लोगों को, वल्नरेबल लोगों को दी गई, और ये हमने एक शॉक के साथ जो है डील किया। लेकिन अगर अब आप देखते हैं कि शॉक ख़त्म हो जाता है, when the shock is over, this post shock. So post shock also there has to be a strategy. That strategy again takes us back to the database. Again, we have a unique database. Now we need to go to the adaptive social protection strategy here. And how do we do that? And this is what we are working towards. So we do have a program, CRISP, which is a Crisis Resilient Social Protection Program that we are working with the World Bank on. And now this is a very interesting program. And we feel that these are the kind of initiatives that are going to further prepare the people for the shocks, because we don't want to wait for a shock to come and really shock us to be able to do something for our population that is most vulnerable. We need to prepare well ahead in time. And this, so one of the programs that we have is CRISP. And इसके अंदर फिर हम ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि टारगेट पॉपुलेशन को उठाएं और उनको हम फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी और फाइनेंशियल सेंस दें, जो कि अब जैसे नदीम साहब यहाँ बैठे हैं, ही कैन प्रॉब्ली शेड मोर लाइट ऑन हाउ टू एजुकेट पीपल कि जी आप अपना पैसा बचाना शुरू करें, क्योंकि ये एक सहन नहीं है ना हमारे लोगों का। वट एवर मनी यू गेट यू स्टार्ट स्पेंडिंग, बट यू डोंट हैव दैट सेंस कि जी ये पैसा बचाना है। सो अ वल्नरेबल हाउस होल्ड और वल्नरेबल फैमिलीज need to realize that there has to be an element of saving in their budget. So whenever they have a budget, they need to keep a saving component there. And this is the kind of financial literacy that we want to impart in this population. And this is very important. I'm going to also relate this to or connect it with the agriculture side. So for instance, we in Sindh, I come from an area which is called the lower riparian. So I'm always in need of water for agriculture. Our people, and I hail from a district called Sanghar. I've been raised in an agricultural environment. That is our bread and butter. I come from a belt that grows cotton, wheat, mangoes. We are known, our belt is known for great mangoes in Pakistan. But obviously these the fruits of this sector can only be enjoyed if you have everything available to you. So for instance, Abid Suleri Saab talked about the fertilizers. I'd also shed some light on the availability of water. We are facing a drought situation and we are also facing a flood situation. Now this is, this is ironic, but we are facing these two situations, unfortunately. अब पानी के अंदर ये होता है कि पानी की किल्लत, अब पानी की किल्लत जब होती है तो हमने बहुत सारे तरीक़ों से सोचा होता है कि हम कैसे यूज़ करें। एक ये है कि आप अपनी कनाल्स को बेटर मैनेज करें, उनको आप लाइन करें, पानी वहाँ से बचाएं जो पानी ज़ाया होता है कनाल्स के अंदर, आपकी ट्रिब्यूटरीज़ हो गई, आपकी जो शाखें हम सिंधी में कहते हैं, इनको आप पक्का करें ताकि पानी की बचत हो। दूसरा ये होता है कि आप इरिगेशन के मेथड्स पे गौर करें, आप बेहतर तरीक़ेकार अपनाएं इरिगेशन के, आप वो तरीका अपनाएं जहाँ पानी कम इस्तेमाल हो, तो आप बचत करते हैं ना। वो रिसोर्स जिससे आप खाते कमाते हैं वो है पानी, सबसे बुनियादी एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में। तो आप ये समझा रहे होते हैं कि पानी को कैसे बचाना है। और अब हम यहाँ बात कर रहे हैं कि समाजी प्रोटेक्शन के अंदर, समाजी तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के अंदर पैसे की बचत कैसे करनी है। तो ये उसी तरीके से इम्पोर्टेंट है जिस तरीके से पानी को बचाकर चलाना है, इसी तरीके से आपको पैसे को बचाकर चलाना है। आपको इतनी सेविंग रखनी चाहिए कि खुदा न खास्ता अगर अब जो शॉक्स के मराइल हैं इनको फेस करने के लिए, सो फॉर इंस्टेंस आइडियली वीड लाइक टू सी the vulnerable communities in Pakistan to be better prepared for shocks. Now, there's always an opening when the government announces an amount, but an economically stressed government, or a government which is facing so many other challenges on that economic front, may not be able to allocate the kind of amount that is required to cover the vulnerable population, which is why it is better to go towards the social protection adaptive strategy, so as to ensure that these people know when there is no water, how to survive. When there is less water, how to survive. When there is no money, how to use the savings. And to have savings to begin with. So, this is the sense that we need to hammer into those brains and to explain to them. And this is what social protection is all about. And this is what we feel now the social protection has to be all about also. At the same time, I would also like to appreciate the words of Abid Suleri Sahab, who is, people say jack of all, but I say he's master of all, because not only he's talking everywhere, but he's making sense in all the sessions that he speaks in. So I feel that, he has that holistic sort of approach towards issues faced by common man in this society. And that is the kind of science that we need to make use of. And I'm really grateful to him for the offer that he's made. And I will take up that offer for sure. I've been badgering him for other things, but I will definitely badger him for the policy paper that comes out of these interactions and discussions that have taken place here. I do want to also congratulate SDPI on this 25th sort of year that they've been doing such great activities and contributing towards the social protection side. And this is very important, because before anyone else was talking, I think SDPI was talking about it. So I must compliment and commend the work of the team at SDPI. But what I was also wanting to appreciate what Abid Suleri Saab said, that everything relates to social protection. So, if a climate change disaster happens in Pakistan, it is the vulnerable population that gets affected the most. If there is pandemic in the country, though it does not discriminate amongst who it goes and, attacks, but the most affected are the vulnerable communities and the people in the country. And then, of course, the economic crisis. In any form, shape, it affects the most vulnerable population. So it is very important for us to talk about the vulnerable communities, which are the most effective. It is very important for us to come together, because it is not the job of a government or governments, unless and until जब तक के हम बतौर मुआशरा अपनी इन challenges को address करने के लिए तैयार नहीं होंगे, हम नहीं अपने आप को मजबूत कर सकते. हमने अपने आप को हर तरीक़े से तैयार करना है. हमारी मदद को कोई नहीं आएगा. हमारी मदद को अल्लाह ताला के सिवा उस वक्त ही कोई आएगा जब वो हमारी मदद, हम देखेगा कि हम अपनी मदद कर रहे हैं. अगर हम अपनी मदद नहीं करेंगे, so first we need to learn to help ourselves, and then we need to see who wants to help us, because it is not Pakistan alone. No one should think that if you leave Pakistan suffering today as a result of climate change that we have very little to do with, it is not going to remain in Pakistan. It is going everywhere that one's imagination can take you. So it is better as a country for us to focus on social protection. It is great for the world to focus on vulnerable countries to ensure that the effects of climate change are not only handled in a better way by the given country, but also in a way that is more resilient, more sustainable, and better for the generations of the world. So I thank you for this opportunity. I think I want to also hear the wonderful panelists around me, and I'm grateful for this opportunity once again. I hope that I did make sense, because social protection is the core of everything, and that is what I wanted to establish. Thank you.